Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is literally a chameleon of governance. I'm talking about the Constitution of India. It's this massive, incredibly complex, and honestly brilliant system that's built to adapt and shapeshift depending on exactly what the country needs in any given moment. Whether you're living in India or you're just a massive governance nerd trying to figure out how giant democracies actually survive, you're going to want to stick around for this. We're unpacking the Indian federalism paradox. Basically, it's a system that acts like a normal federation during peacetime, but, and here's the crazy part, it can automatically transform into a unitary state the second there's an emergency. Okay, so here's our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with the federalism paradox itself, dive into the history and constitutional design, check out some really unique features of governance, look at the friction, center versus state conflicts, and finally wrap up with the push towards cooperative federalism. Let's jump right into part one, the federalism paradox. Why build a hybrid system in the first place? Well, to understand why India absolutely needed this highly customized hybrid system, you just have to look at the sheer scale of the place. Check out this number, 102.7 crore. That's over 1 billion people, and that was India's population way back in the 2001 census. Governing a continental-sized polity like this, you literally can't just copy-paste a textbook government model from somewhere else. To put it into perspective, just one Indian state, Uttar Pradesh, has a population larger than the entire country of Germany. Throw in 8 major religious systems, countless dialects, castes, and deep regional identities. You need a system that's incredibly flexible just to hold the whole shebang together. And it's not just about size, right? It's about these deeply ingrained inherent contradictions in Indian society. Think about it. You've got an ancient, historically evolved civilization that's functioning as a relatively new sovereign nation. You're balancing a communal society with the strict legal framework of a secular state. It's industrializing at breakneck speed, yet in a lot of places it still retains this abiding feudal culture. It's a democratic polity, but one where caste and tribal allegiances still play a huge role. These deep societal paradoxes mean you absolutely need a form of federalism that can bend without snapping. Which brings us to Section 2, History and Constitutional Design. How did the architects actually pull this off? To figure that out, we kind of have to rewind the clock. Governance in India has been shape-shifting for centuries. You go way back to the ancient era, and you've got these highly decentralized Hindu republics and village panchayats. Then, fast forward to the 8th through 18th centuries under Muslim rulers, and things become heavily centralized to consolidate power. Then the British show up. Colonial rule brought a legal system totally focused on efficient imperial administration, though they did experiment with limited autonomy over the decades, leading up to the Government of India Act in 1935. And finally, the 1946 Cabinet Mission Scheme sets the stage for the Constituent Assembly to draft the new rules. This brings us to a really foundational quote from the chief architect of the Constitution himself, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He pointed out that the basic principle of federation is that the partition of legislative and executive authority isn't just a law arbitrarily made by the center. It's hardwired into the Constitution itself. That makes the center and the states co-equal in that respect. But, and this is absolutely crucial context here, the tragic trauma of the partition of India completely changed the framers' mindset. Almost overnight, they went from wanting minimal central control to realizing they needed a maximal, incredibly strong center to check separatist forces and keep the nation unified. Because of that massive reality check, they flat out rejected the traditional approach to federalism. Traditionalists, like Casey Ware, argued that federalism strictly meant independent, co-equal authorities, acting completely separately in their own little bubbles. The Indian framers looked at that and said, yeah, no way. That's way too rigid for a society that's diverse. Instead, they leaned hard into the modern approach. In an age of scientific and economic advancement, modern federalism has to be cooperative. It's dynamic, based on mutual interdependence, shared action, and the center and states actually working together. All right, Section 3, Unique Features of Governance. Let's look at how this actually works under the hood. How does this cooperative but highly centralized vision translate to paper? Well, just take a look at the division of powers. The Constitution breaks legislative subjects into 3 specific lists, and there is a very deliberate imbalance here. The Union list has 99 subjects. That's where the central parliament gets to make the laws. The state list has 61 subjects for state legislatures. And then there's the concurrent list with 52 subjects where both can legislate. Notice who holds the most cards? The center. It's a structural tilt that intentionally pulls power toward the Union to maintain national stability. And that center-heavy tilt doesn't stop there. there are some glaringly unfederal traits baked into the system. For instance, unlike the US, there's no dual citizenship. Every Indian has single citizenship. The judicial system, entirely unified and integrated. Then you have the All India Services. These are top administrators who work locally in the states, but they are appointed by the union. And get this, Parliament can literally alter state boundaries or create brand new states all on its own. These features act like a massive gravitational pull towards a powerful central government. But the absolute wildest feature, the real chameleon mechanism we talked about, is the emergency transformation. In normal, everyday times, the Constitution operates as a federal system. But during war, a threat to defense, or a national emergency, it automatically hits an override switch. Under specific articles, the whole system transforms to function as a unitary state, concentrating all power right at the center. It's literally a built-in survival module designed to protect the integrity of the nation at a moment's notice. Moving on to Section 4, Center versus State Conflicts. Because, as you might guess, this delicate balance doesn't always hold. When you have an intentional imbalance of power, friction is literally inevitable. And the biggest flashpoint? Article 356. This is the provision that allows the central government to impose president's rule, basically taking over a state's administration if the constitutional machinery breaks down. Justice V.R. Krishna Iyer famously called it the most abused and maligned article, and for good reason. The source material points out that it's been invoked over 110 times, often used as a political weapon to dismiss state governments without even exploring alternative options first. But it's not just Article 356 causing headaches. There are several systemic issues driving this contestation. You've got an erosion of neutrality in central institutions. Think partisan appointments of state governors. Then there's the massive financial dependence the states have on the center. Throw in the National Planning Commission, which historically acted as this extra-constitutional body, overreaching its bounds and making states rely on its mercy for funding. Add to that the misuse of discretionary grants and unauthorized overdrafts from the Reserve Bank, and you've got a recipe for serious, ongoing institutional stress. Just look back at those legislative lists for a second. Visually, you can really see the structural tilt toward the center. With 99 subjects in the union list and 52 in the concurrent list, jurisdictions are constantly overlapping. And here's the kicker. Whenever a parliament law and a state law clash over a concurrent subject, the union law almost always wins out. Structurally, this setup guarantees friction, unless both sides are actively committed to playing nice and cooperating. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, towards cooperative federalism. How do we actually fix this? The good news is, there are structural fixes. The source material lays out some really solid expert suggestions to restore that original, people-oriented federal spirit the framers intended. The goal here is to stop using federalism just to maintain political class control and shift back to a genuinely shared strategy for national development. So what does true cooperation actually look like? It means treating states as equal partners. First, you have to strengthen the interstate council so it has real teeth for dispute resolution. Second, elevate the Finance Commission to be a truly impartial umpire for distributing tax money, taking the politics out of it. Third, let states formulate their own planning boards, just like Dr. Ambedkar suggested. And finally, you've got to push power downwards. Empower village panchayats and local municipalities to actually run micro-level public welfare programs. Make them financially stable, true partners in development. We've seen how brilliant this system is, a constitution uniquely crafted to be unitarian in emergency and federal in peace. But a paradox like this can only survive if there's genuine interdependence. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Can India's immense diversity truly survive under a domineering central authority, or is a return to balanced, cooperative federalism the absolute only path forward for the world's largest democracy? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer today. I'll catch you next time.